Right, so the last thing to discuss or reflect on when it comes to FAB 2.0 are the history packs, right? So, what role were they meant to serve? Have they actually met that objective? All of that should be scrutinized and looked at because it is a crucial component of the new model of Flesh and Blood because they are meant to serve as the accessible way for people to get their hands on the original cards, especially in later years, as Flesh and Blood is this non-rotating format. Right, so every card will always be legal, subject to a restriction or living legend status, but by and large, every card needs to remain accessible in proportion to the growing player base. The issue that I have with the history packs is they've come too soon, right? The demand for Crew, Arcane Rising, Welcome to Wraith, yeah, there's a little bit, but I don't think the history packs are needed to fulfill that niche outside of a few choice cards, right? And then History Pack 2. I can't see this being needed in 2024. From the card list, it's encompassing Monarch, Everfest, and Tales, which I think I did wrong, right? Everfest, Monarch, Tales. All of which have substantial supplies of cards out there in both First Edition and Unlimited, especially when it comes to Everfest. I mean, they've noted that they have the unlimited printing of Everfest, but are not going to release it, so why would we need a history product? Now, before we really dive into it, I should probably state, the black label is perfect. That's wonderful for globalizing the game. My big issue is with the white border variants, because for History Pack 2, it is coming out in 2024, is planned to come out in 2024. And simply put, I don't think it will serve any purpose in 2024. I think a big thing to scrutinize when it comes to the History Pack is this mentality that it's meant to make cards accessible. Well, the cards that need accessibility are legendaries and majestics, right? They're the hardest points to crack. Rares and commons are not needed, not warranted, right? We don't need more bloats in a white border variant when these cards are barely, scraping $1. In terms of legendaries, while it looks better, right, the pull rates are lower, far lower than Welcome to Wraith, Crew, and Arcane Rising. They're similar to the FAB 2.0 pull rates of Rainbow Foil legendaries. The issue is that the number is now 9, right? The pool has increased. So in order to find all 9 legendaries, or to have all 9 legendaries hit the market, it is significantly more boxes. To cycle through the rotations of the printings, it is going to be a larger amount of box openings needed to fulfill all the legendaries. And this in itself is an issue, because what we are seeing by and large, with the Screed Tunic for instance, I believe the Rainbow Foil from Welcome to Wraith Unlimited is $250. I think the Crew Black Border is $220. And then the white border is $200, right? So that's not really accessible in terms of the history packs being 36 booster packs in a box, therefore having, I think it's around $1 off in Australian when it comes to the price points of the normal boxes and history pack. So overall packs are cheaper. Overall packs have higher pull rates, but we're not seeing that disparity in pricing, even in, say, Majestics, right? The level of price difference between Command & Conquer White Border and Command & Conquer Black Border is not significant enough to make the cards accessible, especially when you then factor in, again, the idea of incentive. What incentive is there for people to actually open the history pack product and supply the secondary market? By and large, there's not a lot. So then overall, is the history pack serving its purpose? Has it replaced the role that the Unlimited Edition was meant to serve? In the long run, yeah, it probably will. At the current point in time, History Pack 1 is barely needed. History Pack 2 will significantly be not needed. So overall, their timeline or structuring for the History Packs, I think, is wrong. Then we also then factor in the other issues that plague the History Pack. For one, it's not draftable. I don't understand why they wouldn't make it draftable, right? Wouldn't it be great to have a format where you can now draft a mix of cards from these 3 different sets that usually make up a block? And then the other factor is the timeline is their biannual. So every 2 years they're meant to be released. So I'm curious when it comes to History Pack 3, how many sets is it going to encompass? Because you're already bloating the set with the higher card pools. Because again, the decrease in pull rates is completely circumvented or undone by the fact that the card pools are significantly increased, right? This is almost double that of a standard set. It's probably larger than double that, right? I think it's around 210, 220 is normal. So that means that despite having a increase to pull rates, to again cycle through all the legendaries, cycle through all the majestics, to find any single given card that a player desires that needs to be accessible, is actually going to cost more, right? That's why we see the price points of the white border not really be significantly cheaper than any of the other cards. Okay, History Pack 1 has a smaller card pool, so the prices are a bit better. When it comes to History Pack 2, again, when the market demand is not needed, right? We don't need more Everfest cards. We barely need Tails or Monarchs, and we definitely don't need Commons or Rares. I just don't see how this is A, necessary, or B, successful, right? What is the incentive for someone to go, well, you want to get into FAB, go open History Pack 1 and 2. You won't find any foil cards, you'll just get these white border cards, but it's a good starting point, right? That's not the mentality. The mentality is meant to be, well, these sets are out of print, so if you want to play X hero, you'll need to go back and visit this history pack, which is fine, but again, the supply issue is not there. Yes, Crew, Arcane Rising, Welcome Wraith, Unlimited have all grown in value in terms of sealed boxes, right? But you can still find them. They're not scarce, and you can definitely find single cards. Outside of, again, Legendaries and some Majestics, you can easily find any of the cards you want to build your deck out. You don't have to resort to the white border variant. So in terms of card accessibility, while this model works, it's not needed. In terms of respecting the collectability of the original printings of cards, well, it's not. It's actually competing with them. Because again, we've gone through the mentality of the community that is reflected in the secondary market. And that is a simple fact that people don't care the type of cards, they just want the cards to play. Okay, so when it comes to finding Spring Tunic, the majority of players don't care what printing the tunic is, so therefore all the tunics have a similar level of demand and a similar price point, outside of course, the first edition Cold War. So altogether, the history pack in itself, while being a great idea, the majority of FAB 2.0, while being a great idea and serving its purpose, has overcorrected to the point where a lot of the factors that determined what made up FAB 2.0 don't matter anymore, right? The community is not split between collectors and players. It's heavily skewed towards players. So respecting collectability by just supplying the market with new cards doesn't matter because there isn't a huge collectible market. If anything, collectability needs to be scrutinized and examined significantly higher than what this model is using. So overall, again, I think the basis is there for the history packs, but at this point in time, their role was deleted when it comes to FAB 2.0. Once we get to the non-first edition unlimited sets, I personally don't think that a history pack would be needed except for, you know, a half a decade in the future, if that, right? We won't need a supply boost to Uprising, to Dynasty, to Outsiders for a significant time. So why do history packs? Again, the black label is wonderful for having them enter the market. Why they don't just reprint the sets? There's issues there with obviously the fables and whatnot, as well as restarting, say, printer costs for larger sets. And this is just taking or cherry picking the best cards from the set that are actually relevant to the playability of the game. Because again, the playability is the biggest aspect at the moment. But overall, when it comes to the white border, I don't think the model works as it currently is. I think that if it supported draft, if it allowed people to have this history draft, that would be a fantastic idea. Or go the opposite way and significantly increase the pull rate, right? Cut it down to, say, 5 cards in a pack, similar to the special varieties of Yu-Gi-Oh! Have legendaries be more accessible, have more Majestics in a pack, have 1 per pack, right? Have 1 Majestic, 4 rares, cut out the common, something like that, to incentivize people to open the history pack, to find the cards that they want, right? Because again, at this point in time, all we're seeing is boxes open in mass, all the cards hitting the market, and then their value being determined by playability. And when it comes to the history pack, what is the incentive to open it over the base packs of cards? The only thing going for it is the mentality that it's 4 sets that are out of print. But out of print doesn't mean that they are inaccessible, right? Especially at this point in time, especially when it will come to History Pack 2 and Monarch, Tales, and Everfest. It won't have a demand, because why would you bother opening History Pack 2 when you could go open, say, Monarch, even Monarch Unlimited, and be able to find the cards you're looking for at a easier pull rate? Because again, although these pull rates look better, pool's inflated. Total card number is inflated, meaning that overall it's actually going to take you longer to find any specific legendary, which means that it's, again, not competing with the just buy singles off the secondary market. It's not competing with the original printings that aren't out of demand despite being out of print. So its overall purpose is not warranted. So overall, I just want to reaffirm, FAB 2.0 has done wonderful things for the game and the community. Overall, all the changes have been fantastic. At the point in which they were instigated, right, they were necessary. The issue is what we're seeing as a result of these changes has meant that a lot of the factors that were relevant to these designs and to this new model of Flesh and Blood are changing, right? So some sort of new thought is necessary to better shape the game and its delivery for the players. And when it comes to stuff like the history pack, when it comes to stuff like the cold foil pull rates, especially commons and rares, because of playability, because of all the factors that have led people to simply buy from the secondary market rather than be incentivized to open boxes, this model is becoming an issue, at least, again, from my perspective.